welcome to Trading Day on Fox Footy. Great to have your company as we count down to next Wednesday's trade deadline. We've got the team all assembled, Fox Footy analysts, Leigh Montagna, and from the Herald Sun, Scotty Gullen and John Ralph. Now, guys, trade period feels big every year, but especially this year. It feels like we've been talking about big names for months now, Joey, and if we have a look at some of the names that are being thrown up for trade period, there's some pretty handy players.
There's all Australians everywhere, isn't there, that are up for trade this year, so it is exciting for some clubs.
And coaches are on the hot seat as well, 4 or 5 of them next year as well. So if they don't get their man, they might be out of a job by the end of next season.
All right, so we've got a couple of trades that have come through today on day one. And of course, free agency ended on Friday where we had 6 players find new homes.
Yeah, so we finally got some deals done today. There was 2, but as we know, Josh Battle's finally been done. Elliot Himmelberg, Tom Campbell, Harry Perryman, Nick Haynes, Isaac Cumming from the Giants. Today, Alex Neil-Bullen and Jack Darling. Finally, we've started. More to come, hopefully soon.
Plenty more to come. So, Neil-Bullen, a premiership forward for the Demons. How did it get done? What's the nitty-gritty?
So it's pick 28. He wanted to go home for family reasons. There's none of the Melbourne issues that we'll talk about in a moment. But I think this could be the bargain of the trade period. So he gets to the Crows for the pick 28 that the Demons gave up last year for Shane McAdam. McAdam was worth the punt, but he kicked 1 goal in 2 AFL games this year. And Neil-Bullen, third in the best and fairest over the weekend. Could be the best bloke at Melbourne. Oozes leadership, runs up and down and does all the unrewarded stuff. And the Crows will get Isaac Cumming for nothing and James Peatling for a future second rounder next year. I just love this deal.
Well, I was at the BMF on Friday night and he gave a great speech. He finished third. There was so much love in the room for him. It's a big loss for Melbourne. We know the issues they've had. And they knew they're losing one of their favourite sons.
Yeah, I like what the Crows have done in this trade period. I think they've added some depth, some quality. Neil-Bullen, I think, is a player that can play in different roles. We know he can play that mid-half forward role. He showed that when he goes as an on-baller himself, he can actually do a good job. He's had that role for a long time, Ralphie, where he basically played the role that allowed Christian Petrarca to play midfield and forward of the ball, and he would do the heavy lifting and the running. I just wonder if he can do something similar for Isaac Rankin and allow Rankin to maximise his strengths, and Neil-Bullen can play a similar role.
Yeah, Melbourne will say, oh, Colton Felstrup, can he play that role? Now, Colton's so exciting, but he is a pup, whereas this guy is battle-hardened. As I say, he is as fit as any player in the competition, and I think it's, as you say, a boon for Adelaide in terms of the versatility, and it's a big hole to fill for Melbourne.
And after 298 games as an Eagle, Jack Darling heads to North Melbourne to give some badly needed support for Nick Larkey.
There's mixed reviews on this. I'm in the camp of North. I think it's a good idea. Nick Larkey needs help. We all know that. They tried Toby Pink and a few other sort of names like that, and it didn't quite work. Jack Darling brings experience, premierships, we know, elite training. It's a good idea. Pick 67, so they've got him in the 4th round. It's a nothing. I think it's how many veterans they can get is the issue that we need to talk about with North.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. My first gut feels like I don't know if they really need him. I understand he'll provide some leadership and experience, but in saying that, I thought the same thing about Hawthorn with Jack Gunston. I wasn't really sure that Jack Gunston was going to do anything, and he proved me wrong. He had a really important role with the Hawks this year and what he was able to do. So maybe North Melbourne think Jack Darling can provide something similar. You're right about some of the names. I mean, he's going up against like Toby Pink. I think there's question marks out on Coleman Jones and whether he's going to be a player. And they've tried a lot of other tools that haven't really worked for North Melbourne. So I think it's a punt worth taking.
But so they're playing him in a role and they want him to step up in a role that I'm just not sure he's equipped to fill anymore. It would take a leap of faith to think he can get back to anywhere near the form of not only the premierships, but maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So he went through a period in 11 games this year where he took 2 contested marks. Even those that love him would say he's durable, he's a professional, but he's lost his leap. Yep. And it's hard to take marks at centre-half forward when you've lost your leap.
Yeah, you can't expect too much from him, I don't think, in regards to his playing ability. But he can work alongside Larkey. He can be a leader for the football club. And you never know. I mean, it's going to be one that we're going to sit and wait. I don't think he'll play 23 games. Maybe if it's 15 games and they play him when they need him. But they just decided they needed some leadership.
And do they cheer him off after that 300 game in round 2 as well? His new teammates have just introduced themselves to him.
It'll be a big banner. It'll be an amazing day.
So the jury is out on that one. I think we all think Luke Parker is an exceptionally good pickup and will work well for North Melbourne. Caleb Daniel is another one that we're watching closely.
We're all waiting. The Kangaroos are waiting. The Bulldogs are waiting. He's gone away to Adelaide, went home, had a chat about it. Still nothing today. He goes overseas next week. The Bulldogs are hopeful that he stays. He's 28. They know he's had stints as sub, as we know, and in the reserves this year. I think they've turned their tune a bit. I think they're falling back in love with Caleb Daniel. And he worked brilliantly at North, but the gut feel I've got, I think he stays.
But why wouldn't another club had a crack at him and maybe one in a premiership mode as well? I mean, we know how elite he can be. they're saying we love his leadership. He's a deputy vice captain. We'd love him to stay. So when he's been in the VFL 8 times and he's been a sub in or out 7 times, I mean, that is the writing on the wall. But why wouldn't Adelaide or someone, as I say, that might be a bit further advanced than North Melbourne ask for him, and then he might go because you think I could still play finals at some stage in the next couple of years.
It's a hefty contract though that he's on, isn't he? And it's got to be the right fit. Did North Melbourne need another one? That's the question. I mean, if they're going to go, well, they've got Darling, Parker. Do they want a third experienced veteran? I mean, I think he's probably an upgrade on guys like Tucker and Zach Fisher and players that have played similar roles. It might allow McKercher to explore maybe on a wing or half forward or inside next year. So I think North Melbourne should continue to try and have a crack at him.
The Bulldogs had a lot of money sitting in their sub-vest this year. We just saw the stats there for Caleb Daniel, but also Jack Macrae.
Yeah, this is a fascinating one, isn't it? So he has requested to leave, and maybe that's the reason why they keep Caleb Daniel. They're open to one of them leaving, maybe not both. And just take a look at his numbers the last 3 years, and we've done the averages per 100 minutes because he played as a sub, so you want to eliminate those. He was an All-Australian in 2021. Ever since then, he's been slowly on the decline as a player. He's going to be 31 next year. So it's interesting that St Kilda, it feels like, are looking at taking him. He's requested to go to St Kilda. But just take a look at the numbers compared to the player that they have let go, essentially, and who he's going to replace in Seb Ross. And Seb Ross's last 3 seasons are not too dissimilar in regards to what he can provide from a ball-winning ability, from his score involvements and a running capacity. So, yes, it's a slight upgrade. We all agree Jack Macrae is a better player. Seb Ross is 1 year older. So it is a slight improvement, but you are paying $800,000 in 3 years on a guy that, is coming to the club compared to a heart and soul player in Seb Ross.
Well, what about Brad Crouch? I mean, this is the issue with Saints, isn't it? Macrae goes in there, he can find the pill. We know that. He finds it a lot. And I think he's good by hand. So to outside runners, isn't that what they want? They want speed, as Ross tells us.
Yeah, and Macrae doesn't really have that leg speed anymore. But I think what St Kilda are probably thinking is Brad Crouch played an important role to allow everything else to flourish with his ball-winning ability. So they've gone that way, but what I like to look at is the money ball situation. And is there a player that's also gettable who's only 27, so nearly 4 years younger than Jack Macrae? These are his numbers in the last 3 years. He's also a ball winner that can play on the inside and can play that half-forward role, which Jack Macrae is going to have to play at St Kilda. And it's a guy that I think is coming into really the peak of his power. So his club is essentially offering him up. If we take a look, it's Matt Kennedy from Carlton. And when you think about it, that's pretty impressive numbers. Compared to Jack Macrae, they're not too dissimilar. He'd be half the value of what Macrae is on in regards to his contract situation. He's 27, as I said, so 3 or 4 years younger, can play as an inside mid, but we know he's got the ability to play as a half forward. So if there are other clubs that are thinking about it, and maybe for St Kilda, there might be a better option.
And here's my question mark. So can Jackson Macrae play at half forward? Because you think that with pick 7 and 8, they'll draft a couple more midfielders, and maybe you bring Mitch Owens into the midfield and Windhager, so many of those players. So you'd imagine that within 18 months, he's playing half forward again. I think all of us believe that his best football is that inside mid. Is he going to be able to play the rest of his career at St Kilda there? Or, does he get pushed out again?
As a St Kilda fan, ideally you don't want Jack Macrae to be your best 3 midfielders if you're going anywhere as a club. He's a guy that provides some depth and has to play some periphery roles. So it's going to be interesting to see how that fits.